Welcome to Start Before You're Ready, the podcast that proves that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin your journey towards better health and happiness. I'm your host, Kelly Young. Remember, the first step is often the hardest, but it's always worth taking. Hey guys, it's Kelly, and I am back with another episode of Start Before You're Ready. And today's guest is going to be a great inspiration to so many of you because she checks so many boxes as far as a KBC community member. First of all, she's what we call a boomerang. A boomerang is someone that used to work out with us. She was an outdoor boot camper in 2014 and has come back to KBC first via Zoom and now a hybrid since 2023. And her results are incredible. She's going to be humble about it, but I am incredibly proud of Corinne's results. And I want to introduce her to you. I'm going to let her go ahead and just tell us a little bit about herself and her journey with KBC, kind of when she first started and kind of when she came back. Ready to do that, Corinne?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be on. So yes, I joined probably back in the 2014 timeframe. And at the time, it was only Saturday mornings at the lot, which I have a lot of really fond memories of, like great hot summers and some very, very cold winter days. But it was really, at the time, it was really fun. But I will say I very much appreciate an indoor space now. I feel like I'm a lot less tolerant of the cold. Having done both, I recognize the abilities to have great classes indoors. And the flexibility now is what is truly key to me. And the community that has developed over time, I really benefit from now. And I think I see it very much. That was 10 years ago. So the community aspect of, my kids are older now, so not so many things revolve around them. And so having something that's just mine is it's really invaluable to me now.
Yeah. Yeah. So you came back in 2023, the end of the year in 2023, right?
I joined as part of the November challenge.
Okay. So good. We'll talk a little bit about that. We do a program in November, and we've done the past few years called No Excuses November. It's very popular because I think it speaks to a lot of people that feel like they don't want to commit to something. They don't want to sign up for something that they don't know that they're going to finish. So the No Excuses November is a 1-month challenge. The challenge is to get to 8 classes. So we figure if you can commit to the month and get to the studio 8 times or virtual 8 times, then you have the option to join afterwards. So tell us a little bit about that, because I know that you were successful in the No Excuses November. I remember making the grid with a picture of you and saying, congratulations, you graduated. That was your first check the box of, okay, I got this.
Right. Actually, it was great. I mean, I love that we had the 5:15 Zoom classes. That worked out really well for my schedule. And I mean, it's a little bit of an adjustment. I've always been a morning person, but I had to fit it in and make sure I could get kids where they need to go. But I feel like now that is second nature. But it was great. And then it just was a variety of, strength training. And then I think at that time, the Tuesday mornings were all cardio. So it was the variety of different types of classes. It was something I really needed at that time because I needed more variety. And over years of working out at home in COVID timeframe, I had a lot of equipment, so it just made the transition very easy.
Okay, so for November, you were virtual, 100% virtual, even though you live how far from the studio?
I live in Leesburg, so I'm about 25 minutes.
Okay, yeah, okay. I didn't even know you're still in Leesburg. Okay, so you were completely virtual. When she says 5:15, she's mean 5:15 a.m. And you created a schedule for yourself? Is that like you had your days that you were expecting yourself to work out, where you had a routine?
I did. I was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I don't do Thursday mornings anymore. I think I was doing maybe Step at the time, but I have a love-hate relationship with Step. Not that I don't like Step, but I feel like it just doesn't work for me anymore because I hurt myself twice last year and I was like, I think I need to try to do something that it just doesn't work as well as it did when I was younger.
Yeah. Okay. So you have your virtual routine where you're getting several workouts in a week. And talk about the first time you came into the studio.
It was Christmas Eve. I remember it was Meg's. I think it was the circuit.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay.
I'd done a circuit in my house. Obviously, I don't walk around,
Right.
but you did the different exercises. It was really fun to, kind of move in the different places in the studio and use equipment I don't have, which is, I think that's part of if you're kind of a hybrid person, that is the nice benefit. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
little reward of, you do so much at home, but then when you go in for that one, whatever, potentially 1 week, one workout in the studio, you get to do things you don't ordinarily do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So then I remember shortly after that, you signed up for the Winter Challenge, Team Winter Challenge. And then you signed up for, I think at the time, Amy was doing her menopause makeover.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you signed up for those two programs. And I remember messaging you. You might have signed up for something else too, maybe the DW.
I signed up. I feel like last year, I feel like I went and did everything. I did the
Yeah, and I
DW.
remember being
I
like,
did
"This
cut
is
the
a
fat.
lot." Like,
Yeah,
do
I
you
did cut
really
the fat.
want to do all these things? I mean, it was, great. Of course, I want all the members to do all of our programs, but I was a little worried about you. I was like, Corrine, this is a lot. This is like you're committing to, and you were very serious, and you were saying, no, I need to start really taking my health seriously. I need the accountability. I think they're going to complement each other. You had a very good response where I was like, okay, go for it. And you crushed the Winter Challenge and you made new friends. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Winter Challenge was a lot of fun. I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It was, how do I put it? Like, you find yourself doing things like, yes, I'm going to work out at 6:30. Not that I mind working out at 6:30, but it was one of those things like you had to get all these things in because the team environment, everyone was, we're all going to be here tomorrow. Are you going to be there? Sure. I mean, I wasn't always able to make everything,
That's
but
okay.
yes, it was a great way to make connections.
I remember selling you to the captains because I think maybe you were a little late to join. And I remember saying, I have this girl, she's a boomerang, she's come back. She started off virtual. She's come into the studio. Her word for 2024 is brave. And she signed up for the Team Winter Challenge, even though she's never done it before. And one team in particular, I think Debbie and Meg were the captains, right? Where they're like, her word is brave, we want her. So that's how you got connected to that team. I don't know if
Right.
you even know that story.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So you had chose the word brave. And I think that really, one of the things I love so much about our community is so many people have it on their hearts to help other people. And when they hear someone's come back, she's been gone for 7 years, 8 years, she's come back, she started off virtual. Now she chose the word brave. She wants to do the team. They're like, we want her. She sounds great. So yeah, so I love that. And let's now, since we're talking about words, let's talk about a little bit. You sent me a really nice message, Corrine, after the end of 2024, and you talked about why you chose Brave and how it served you. Would you like to share that a little bit
Sure.
about that?
Yeah. So at the beginning of 2024, I could just feel that I needed to internally push a little bit more. And so part of that was putting myself out there in different ways. And, to be honest, like some of the groups, the things that we did, like the DW, that didn't seem like very high risk. And you go and get on InBody by yourself. But, doing the other, like cut the fat, it was a group. I don't mind the group thing, but it's just, I needed to push myself in ways where I hadn't before. And so that was part of the reason of doing some of the various programs. And it was also kind of a good way it was a great way to learn. I also felt like I needed that more in the rest of my life. And I think I was part of what I share with you in my email was that I had an opportunity to advance with my current job, that it was a area I had never worked in before. And I thought, you know what, these are the things you need to do. Because I feel like if I look back, when I was younger, I don't know that sometimes I took opportunities I should have, I should say. And so that was a learning experience.
Okay.
Kind of looking back and saying, maybe I should have done that. And so it just was a good way of a reminder of, yes, you can do hard things and maybe it's not comfortable, but there's growth in that. And so it was a good reminder to kind of try to push myself.
I like that you shared that, Corinne, because I have heard that from so many of our students about success at work, coming from once they prioritize their health, they see success coming, they have success with that. And my story or my theory is that fitness is something we can all control. Health and fitness is something we can all control. As long as you show up and you do the work, you're going to get better. You're going to see yourself getting better. You're going to gain confidence. It's very tangible, and some other things in life aren't. So I like, well, I just heard you say that you kind of gain some confidence from seeing progress in your fitness life to bring it over to your work life, and I'm sure your family life. And that's kind of what you shared. And I really like that. So I didn't share that Corrine is a mom of 2 boys. And do they both play hockey?
Yes.
They both play hockey, which is a travel sport for sure. She's on the road a lot. Her weekends revolve around her boys, which we've all been there, done that. We're not necessarily, but it's, that's a big part of your life. And I think you use that for a long time as like, okay, I'm just, my health's taking a back seat. But then you decided you could do both, right? You decided, hey, there's ways that I can still stay healthy on the road, right?
Oh, yeah. And then part of the working with Gretchen and Amy was a huge eye opener in that area, because it really kind of enforced that as long as you have a plan, you can pretty much get through anything. And yes, it takes a little bit of work, and it takes a lot of advanced planning. I know I get annoying probably to my family because I want to plan everything, but I feel like I function much better that way when we have a plan for how is this weekend going to work? And, we're going to be here and there, and everybody's got to eat. And, you don't want to necessarily eat out all the time, obviously. And yes, with hockey, we have long weekend days because sometimes they both have games that are not in the same place. You find yourself in the car or wherever. So as long as I have a plan, I feel like I do much better.
Yeah.
But part of that was kind of learning, like, everything doesn't have to be so hard. It also doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
It's okay. It's just something in that direction is better than nothing.
Yes. I think that's really to you, because you talked a little bit about that as we were talking before we recorded. You were saying that you feel like you used to have that all or nothing mindset, and you've transitioned to consistency, which is what we want for all of our members. Any thoughts on how you were able to do that?
I really now, just looking back over time, I think it's honestly just maturity and kind of just life experience, because, I look back when I was in your boot camp before, and I feel like I really was, how do I put it? It was very much like I just didn't necessarily if your body's talking to you, there's a reason. And I would ignore a lot of things. Like, I remember I ran through injuries, and I look back and I think, why? Like, what was the point? And so I think part of the things, just life experience and maturity, because I now know that also I don't do as well when I don't get enough sleep, and I don't do as well when I don't eat well. And so it's just time and experience have taught me that it's just not worth it in the end. Like, you can maybe get by on one night of not so great sleep, but I very rarely can do that anymore.
Yes. So tell us a little bit. So you did Clean and Shred first, which is Amy's program that she's kind of tweaked that now. She's not offering Clean and Shred per se. But when you did that, what was the most significant thing that you learned in that particular program?
Honestly, it was just that there is such a variety of things that that you can have. There's no restrictions. You just really need to think about it. And so I think I wrote in my note to you that it kind of really revolutionized my relationship with food. In the Menopause Makeover Clean and Shred edition, there was this whole list of recipes, and it really was kind of interesting, because I thought, like, wow, I haven't eaten potatoes, and like, that's an example, like, years is what I felt like. And like, when you kind of just put it all together and you balanced everything, it really was, nothing was off the table, really.
So you felt less restricted, probably. Like you had kind of created your own, like, I can't have this, I can't do this.
Yes.
And you're like, wait a minute, I can have this. And
right.
That's
like,
really good.
Nothing's good or bad. It's just, you need to kind of think about it in totality.
Yeah.
And part of that, I think Amy would laugh, but part of this, is I think one of the philosophies, obviously, was also kind of build in kind of a treat. And I had a really hard time with that at first, because I felt like if I do it once, it's going to be like this floodgates were going to open. But I also learned, like, no, you have to learn to manage that. And so that was a really big eye opener too, because sure, you can have a treat, but it doesn't need to be like, then everything's, falling off the wagon. It's not. It's a one-time thing, and then you get right back on.
I think that's such a great point. I really do, Corrine. I think that's such a great point because that's what I've heard over the years, the restriction, like I'm giving up alcohol, I'm giving up dessert, I'm giving but they don't teach themselves how to have dessert. So when dessert comes back or alcohol comes back or any of those things, it doesn't really serve them. And I can argue with like the sweets, especially. I can say like, okay, maybe sometimes taking some time to kind of clean your palate. Cause once you get a sweet tooth, you gotta kind of wean off of it almost. You got to get rid of it and then bring it back in slowly. But I love that. How about with Gretchen's program? So Gretchen's program is different than Amy and Gretchen run their own programs based on their own philosophies. And Gretchen is a little bit more macro based, which is kind of the opposite of, what you learned. And I find it so interesting, the number of people that tell me I love the combination of the two. And you were definitely one of the people that told me that you love doing that and then looking a little bit, more closely at the macros. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. I kind of that I think I did clean the fat first, and then I did clean the shred. So it was, but I had never been exposed to macros really at all.
Right.
So it was really good to understand that we can eat in this way, that it kind
Yeah.
of really does get a result, and it really kind of made me much more aware. And the one thing I would say that definitely made me more aware of was protein. I don't know that I ever paid that much attention to it.
Yeah.
So having that kind of as a guiding force was really helpful. So it was all just a really great learning experience. And so I would say I now kind of still try to follow, like I have, I changed my fitness pal to be more macro based, which
Hmm.
also like that it works for me. I know a lot of people hate tracking, but it works for me. But having it kind of as really trying to ensure that you meet protein goals throughout the day, and you're
Hmm.
not left at the end of the day trying to catch up, because
Yeah.
that's never going to work. So that for me works well. And that, again, like not every day is perfect, but it's more of for me it's kind of the parameters I try to stay within.
Yeah. Well, and it's working for you, Corinne. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about your success with the InBody because you did your first InBody a year ago. I think you learned a lot along the way. I'm not sure exactly where you were at the beginning of this year, but at the end of last year, you had lost 10 pounds, which is great, but huge is your body fat percentage was down like 5 or 6%, which is incredible. I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, that's a whole different body composition. I mean, to lose that much body fat for someone like you that's already starting off in pretty good shape. So talk about that a little bit and your relationship with the InBody and what you learned about the InBody and kind of where you are now.
Yeah, so the InBody, I had never done anything like that. So yes, I
Yeah.
remember the first one was in January of last year, and it really it's an eye opener because I felt like I was in good shape, but then I didn't really know what those numbers meant, and so it wasn't until I did it consecutively month after month, and I really started to understand what it was telling me. I felt like I spent the whole year trying to develop my relationship with the InBody, because there was a period of time. So when I started doing Level Up, I was doing it like every 2 weeks, and I thought it got to feel a little obsessive. And I will fully admit that I can tend to be on that side. So I've
Okay.
decided I'm really trying to try to just do it once a month, because I don't know that you
Yeah.
can really see progress in 2 weeks, up or down. And then
Yeah.
it kind of felt like it was messing with my mind. Like, I feel like I'm doing all these things, and why isn't it reflecting that? And there's a lot of variables.
So many variables.
So I feel like now I'm trying to keep the InBody in its proper spot in my life.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know that I would have felt that had I not kind of gone through that experience where I was thinking, is more better? Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but the once a month is definitely really good, and it holds me accountable. And I think the other part of that really kind of made me think about it, like I remember, I think I went on vacation sometime, I can't remember when it was, but I basically had to come back. It was the beginning of a month.
Mhm.
I remember thinking, like, should I worry about this? And I had this conversation with Gretchen, and she said I wouldn't worry about it. I also wouldn't not do something. She said, but set yourself realistic goals. Work out 2 or 3, 4 times a week, and enjoy yourself. But there's lanes to stay in.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful advice because I think had I not actually had that conversation with her, I would have worried about it a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is really important, I think, that balance of like, you need to go on vacation and enjoy yourself and not worry about the InBody. I don't want anyone worrying about the InBody on their vacation. I don't want it to feel like a negative thing. I want it to feel like, okay, I can clean this up. And I think that's what a lot of our students that are consistent with it, that do the DW, that do the monthly, they realize, oh, I can get off real quick, but I can also clean it up real quick. The damage you do in a month can be cleaned up in a month. The damage you do in 2 years takes 2 years to clean up. So I think that is really, really, really helpful. And sometimes we learn that, oh my gosh, while on vacation, I do a lot more movement and I'm more relaxed, and I actually isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. There's always the upside of that. So we've learned a lot, and I like that people have adopted the mindset. I'm just going to get on. Let me see,
Right.
and then, instead of being really upset about it, instead of having it ruin your day or whatever, it's like, okay, this is something I know I can control. I know how I can tweak these numbers back. It's really important. I think that, having that tool, and I've talked about the InBody a lot on this podcast, but just to review in case there's somebody that's new, the InBody is a bioelectrical impedance, and it's as accurate as there's certain things that you can do to have it be more accurate. I coach my participants to get on it before they've exercised, before they've had a meal, ideally the same time of the month, all those things every month. And the numbers that we're looking at primarily are the skeletal muscle mass, which is the muscle around your bones. I've got some women that are more petite and their skeletal muscle mass is lower. And there's some and men. There's some variables such as ethnicity and other things that will just dictate your skeletal muscle mass. It doesn't matter. You're just comparing your skeletal muscle mass to your skeletal muscle mass. You have a really good skeletal muscle mass, Corinne, and you are a lifelong exerciser. Even when you left us, you continued to exercise. That usually shows up in the InBody. Somebody that's been consistent, even if you weren't as consistent as you wanted to be during that time, someone that's been consistent with exercise usually does a little bit better in the skeletal muscle mass department. And there's also, again, there's just frame and genetics and that kind of thing. It's easier to move your numbers when you have a better skeletal muscle mass. It's easier to get your body fat down, which is what most people kind of look at big picture. They want to get their body fat percentage down. Sometimes sometimes you can lose a little bit of skeletal muscle mass and lose a little weight and your body fat still goes down. So we're not worried about that. Means that things are moving in the right direction. But sometimes people will lose weight, lose muscle, and their body fat goes up. We don't want that. That's things moving in the wrong direction. I just remember month after month, I was like, man, you're nailing it, girl. Your skeletal muscle mass is slowly creeping up. Your body fat's slowly creeping down. The weight changed a little bit, but you didn't even change your weight that much. It was more the body composition change, which is why we're here a year later and you're still maintaining it, because the weight can fluctuate like this. We know that, right, Corinne? But the
Yes.
body fat, the body composition, that's a little bit more, that has higher value. So that's great. What would you say the biggest change you've noticed in yourself physically or mentally since joining KBC?
I would say I'm definitely stronger. And I think, I have a completely new appreciation for strength training because, as a over 50 woman, I feel like it really is key to
Yeah.
long-term health. And I think it really it's a confidence boost. I mean, like I come home from my level up classes and I tell my kids, well, I just deadlifted. They laugh when I say I deadlifted like 110 pounds. My older son is like kind of laughs at me, but at the same time, it's kind of this now nice thing that I can have this rapport with them. But I wouldn't have been able to say that a year ago. I'm not even sure I could have even done it a year ago. And
Yeah.
so
I think that's amazing. You're strong.
it just wanted a confidence booster to be able to do
Mhm.
things that probably, I in our community, I don't think that's so unusual, but in the general larger community, it's nice to be able to feel like I have like something that's not, it's just a strength that it's a little bit unusual. I like that part of it. And the other part I think is just doing things that I used to think. I remember listening to Debbie last year. We talked about the Winter Challenge, and I remember her saying more than one time, like 10,000 steps a day. And I thought to myself, how does anybody do 10,000 steps a day? But it's not as hard as I think. And you can really do it without, I mean, you just have to, again, something you have to plan for.
Yeah.
And that is, so it's, I feel like, being able to do the things that I just didn't think were possible before, it's really kind of opened up like, yeah, there's a lot of things that are possible. You just have to think about them differently.
Was hearing it from somebody else that you felt like had been on a path similar to yours, was that helpful? Or was it just gaining the understanding of like what 10,000 steps actually meant? What do you think made that something that seemed like, no way, I can't do that, to, oh yeah, I can actually do that if I plan ahead?
I think a little bit of both. I think developing rapport with people in the community. I mean, not everybody's obviously different, and everyone, but there's similarities and differences all at the same time, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you hear other people do things that you didn't think you could do, you're like, okay, well, maybe there's a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I think, just other opportunities have presented themselves, like over this summer with the Olympics, that I thought was a great experience. And we had walking challenges, and there's all kinds of, it's not just like Apple Watch, but there's like stride kick and things I never knew about. So all these little things that kind of, spur you to do more, that I think that is what, from my personal opinion, it keeps things interesting. It keeps everybody going. There's, the spirit of competition without it being so like uber competitive. It's more for fun.
Yeah. The people that are ahead know that they're ahead, but the people that don't are like they don't even know. They're like, did I make my 10,000? I think that's true too, and that's a great way to use competition. I think if it pushes you and that feels great for you, then do it. But if it's just like you kind of can balance it out as far as how it serves you. But I never want it to feel yucky. That's one thing that I've kind of learned as a coach, and in this community where we do have some competitive people. Like, I don't want it to be a turn off for non-competitive people. And I don't want to do a bunch of challenges that just the competitive people do. So we work really hard to create things that speak to everybody, that don't just speak to the uber competitive people, because there'll be people that say, Kelly, I don't want to do this challenge because I'm not really competitive. And that's the person that I want to do it the most. So I think you're a little more, I wouldn't put you in the non-competitive category, Corrine, but I would say that you have like kind of the right headspace where you're like, oh, fine if you don't win, but it pushes you to work harder, which is, to me, a challenge. That's exactly what we want. We want something to just push us to work harder, and I'm fine if I don't win.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I have flashes of competitiveness, like, if it's a step challenge, I'll try to do my best. Like, I feel like I'm competitive where I feel like I can be competitive, but, I feel like I know the limitations of certain things now.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about like some things that you used to struggle with that have become easier. You mentioned food prepping as one of them. Is there a food prep tip that you have for people?
Well, I would say my food prep used to be on Sundays, but it's all over the place now, just because we are in the middle of the hockey season. So sometimes it's Monday nights. But for me personally, I would say I prep, like it's probably very boring, but again, it works for me. I make a breakfast veggie casserole every week, and I have that every day. And just having it there makes life a lot easier. Dinners are harder because obviously I'm feeding more people. And then just me, because, like in my family, everybody's kind of on their own for breakfast because different schedules, et cetera. But dinner
I love that.
Much more common. But my family, I have to be honest, have gotten kind of accustomed to like the recipes from the menopause makeover, what, I happen to be doing 3-2-1 goal now. And they've kind of gotten accustomed to that they don't, I remember when they were younger, if I tried to make things that were quote unquote healthy, I got some revolt.
Oh yeah. Oh, yes. I have 3 boys. Trust me. I know that world well, even now. But now they also appreciate it too.
They do. Yes.
So it's good. Talk about 3-2-1 goal, Corinne. I actually forgot that you were doing it. I remember you sent me a message and said, I'm not going to do the challenge. I'm going to do 3-2-1 goal this year. And I was like, that's perfect. And this is a new program that Amy actually started offering in 2025, and she was really excited about it. And it's actually funny that you're doing it, because it's a hybrid, just like you are. Because I would consider Corinne a hybrid. She works out from home most of the time, but does come into the studio for Level Up and when she can for certain classes. And this program, 3-2-1 Goal, is also a hybrid, meaning that it's got some group aspect to it, but it also has some personalization, which Amy felt like that's kind of where she thought her clients would do well, or prospective clients would do really well. So how has that been for you?
It's been really good, actually. The hybrid nature of it worked really well. I mean, we've had 2 group meetings. I couldn't get to the second one, but the first one kind of was introducing us to the program, et cetera. And then just the discipline of making sure you write down kind of the things you want to work on and thinking about it and trying to do a daily reflection on it.
Yeah.
It's really very helpful, because I'm not really a journaling person, but I have to say I actually kind of feel like if I don't do it, I'm like, oh, I need to go back and like make up for
Yeah.
yesterday. So it's been a really good experience so far. I really enjoy it. And Amy's been really good about kind of reading all of the feedback and giving you feedback on what you provide. And obviously everyone has their own individual
Right.
goal. So it is really kind of like, from my perspective, having done programs last year, it's a really good balance of kind of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and accountability, I think that is like, I can't stress the value of accountability enough in any of our programs. It's like somebody actually, because I've signed up for stuff, but if there's not a deadline and a due date and someone's going to be looking at it, I'm much less likely to be successful. And I think we see that as coaches, that our members, they want to do these things. They absolutely value it. They think it's important, but they're going to fall off the wagon if we don't keep them accountable, or 1 week will turn into 2 weeks, that kind of thing. So I love that you're using the example of journaling as something that you are gaining consistency, and now starting to almost feel like, if I don't do it, I don't feel right. Like, that's a really good sign as far as creating a habit. It's like becoming something that you're just doing, and you're seeing the value in it. That's really, really great. And like all of our programs, we want it to be something that you can take a piece of it with you after the 2 months is over, right? We want it to be something that's not just like, okay, you're going to do this for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or a year or whatever, and then, go back to your old ways. We want it to be like, now these are things that you just do. And you have done such a beautiful job with that, Corinne. That's one of the reasons why I really was excited to talk to you today. You've done such a beautiful job of layering. Like, if you listen to her story, she started exclusively virtual. Then she came into the studio. Now she's kind of developed a program for herself that works with a combination of some in person and some virtual. She started with doing the InBody and learning from it, and then signing up for programs that she felt like would help her move her numbers. It's so important to have that self-awareness. And you are really good at that. Like, you're good at communicating, and you're good at knowing, like, here's where I fall off. Here's where, if I do this, I'll do it. So I just think that everyone maybe that's listening to this today, just kind of think about yourself, like what you know to be true about yourself. Because we're all pretty established in our habits and the things that we do well with and we struggle with. Consider that when you're trying to make a change. I think that that's something that you've done a really good job of.
Well, thank you.
You're
But it's not without
welcome.
help. I mean, the coaching has been key, I have to say. I think all the coaches I've worked with everyone has their own style,
Yeah.
but it's all positive, and it's all kind
Yeah.
of trying to help you understand kind of where you are, where you want to be.
Yeah.
You have to want it individually. You have to want to
Yeah.
make a change.
I like that a lot. And we talked a little bit about your kids, and your kids seeing you exercise, and your kids seeing you make the effort as a working mom to find, to eat healthy and to give them healthier options. What's one thing that you would say you want to make sure that they see you doing?
Hopefully, it is really just trying to put health at the
Mhm.
forefront.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, I mean, I recognize, they're teenagers.
Sure.
We all want to
Sure.
eat junk food,
Yeah.
and we could then, but,
Yeah.
and there's a place for that, obviously, but I want them to learn balance more than anything else.
Yeah.
That yes, of course you can have ice cream occasionally, but you can't have it every day.
Yeah.
Or at least I will say I can't have it every day. And I would say most people probably can't either. It's definitely not a
Yeah, they'll
great
get to a time in their
habit.
life where they can't. If
Yes.
yeah,
So it's more balance. I mean, like there's a lot of things that are important, but you have to make your choices based on what is important to you.
I think that's a really good one. Yes. And you said something in the just your when I asked just to tell you a little bit about yourself, you said I'm a full-time working professional that's come to take my health and fitness as seriously as my family and career. And I just thought that that was a really powerful statement and you kind of came back to it there. I think that that is something that we should all be striving for because without your health, nothing else matters, right? It really comes down to
Very
that. And we
true.
see it more as we get a little bit older, but we see it in all stages of life. So the name of this podcast, Corrine, is Start Before You're Ready. And I would love for you to share a time, if you can think of one, if not, it's okay, but where you started something before you felt ready and you were a little bit unsure of the path.
Oh, well, the one first thing that came to mind was the Olympic, being a team captain for the Olympics.
Yes,
I
good
literally
one.
I had no name, the expectations they weren't, there really were no expectations. And everyone, and that was the nice thing about it. It was really kind of a way, because I mean, I know team captain of the winter challenge, that's not something I can commit to because I know there's a time commitment there. And that's not something I could, at this stage where I am in life, that's not something I could commit to. But the Summer Olympic Team Challenge, it worked well. And it was nice
Yeah.
to be able to kind of be involved in the program in a different way and have people, and kind of gave me a little bit of creativity. Like, you kind of create, in our case, it was a Facebook group and like challenges within your team. And it seemed like it was a really good way to do something differently than just a participant. But I had no idea what I was really, just signed up and said, sure, I'll do this.
That is
Um,
such a great example. Well, I think you said something else when you signed up too, Corrine. You said, I've gotten so much from this community. I'd like to get back and step up as a leader. And that's something that I just love about you, that you value what you've received and you want to find a way to get back. And it was the perfect, because you're right. Like because you were all worried and you're a little more type A that you need to know like the details. And I'm obviously not. And I'm like, you'll be fine. And it's what you want it to be. And you can't tell a type A person that it's what you want it to be. That's just not the answer that they're looking for. They need to know what it's going to look like and what the expectation is. But by putting yourself out there and getting yourself doing something that was a little bit scary to you, that's where we grow, right? We don't grow when we're comfortable. So proud of you for that. And lastly, let's talk about your word for this year. So your word for 2025 is it confident or confidence?
that's confident. And really, the reason for that is I wanted to build on being, like, last year, I felt like I needed to be brave and I needed to do new things. And I feel like I've really learned kind of a level of confidence. I want to make sure I keep that going into this year. And so maybe it's a little bit of a combination of the two, but my mindset of that was, I have learned. I have developed a confidence in these things that I have learned and put into practice, and I want to make sure those continue. And I don't need to second guess some things I might have second guessed before.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, how about one other or something else, anything else that you want to share with the community? It's very brave and confident for you to come on this podcast, by the way. Let's acknowledge that. And again, she didn't get a lot of direction. I just said, it'll be fine. We're just going to talk. That's how I want it to be. I just want it to be a conversation. And you've done so many great things. I really wanted to highlight you. But anything else that you'd like to share with the audience?
I would just say, I mean, if there are things that people are on the fence about, or you're not sure about signing up for something, or you're worried about the commitment, or will you fit in, I would really just say go for it. I mean, so the other part of that is, at most programs, they have a finite start and end. So if you really don't like them, they
Mhm,
will end. But I don't think
mhm.
that would be the case in most cases. I think there's so much to offer, and you and the whole team, give so much of yourself that people really, I mean, it's there. There's so much to learn. It's more,
Yeah.
I would say it's become, I mean, the community you've built is really amazing. And I can say that having been in, prior and now, I feel like it's just really evolved over time, and
Mhm,
it's been amazing. So I would
mm.
say thank you to all of you. But if there's anyone's on the fence, just try.
Yeah,
'cause
that's really good advice because there's a lot of people on the fence, Corrine. There's a lot of people that just they need the brave, they need the confident, they need to feel like they're going to fit in, they need to not worry that they're not going to fit in. And that's one thing I'm really happy that you said that because I think we have evolved in that way and I think about that all the time with our classes, with our programs. I want people to feel comfortable regardless of their experience or how long they've been around before because it is intimidating. We've had people that have been around since 2008, I mean, some people worked out with me 5 years before then too. So it's like, there's all these people that have all this history, but I want it to feel like it doesn't matter. Like you're invited into this community. You're welcome into this community, no matter where you're coming from, no matter where you're starting from. We like you. We want to be diverse. We want a little bit of everybody. And you brought a lot of positive energy to the community last year, to the coaches, all the feedback that you gave us. I know just personally, you gave me a lot of great feedback and I learned a lot from you. So we're really grateful for you, Corinne. And I just want to thank you again for being on this podcast, for starting before you were ready, and for having such amazing results. And I can't wait to see. So we'll see at the end of the goal. What was your goal for the 3-2-1 goal? What do you have a specific goal?
I did to get my body fat below 29 or below.
Yeah, girl. Woohoo. You're
So
close. We've
I
seen
know.
29.
We'll see at the end of this month.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, I'll let y'all know how she does with that. All right, Corinne, thank you so much for taking time from your busy day. And it was absolutely awesome talking to you.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Start Before You're Ready. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need a little motivation. Ready to start your own journey? Check out our workouts and nutrition coaching programs at kellysbootcamp.net. You can choose from in-person sessions or virtual programs. Set up a complimentary coaching session to get started. Follow along with me and the show on social media at Kellys_bootcamp. Until next time, this is Kelly Young reminding you that the best time to start is always now.